Welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me is my co-host, Robert Perry. And today we're interviewing a lady called Maureen Foers, OBE. Yes, she has an OBE. Now, Maureen is the founder and she currently runs a group called Celestial Explorers. So it's a group that helps you expand your spiritual knowledge and so therefore expand your soul, because it brings together like-minded people, like-minded souls to learn more about all the different alternative healing modalities out there. But we'll be talking to Maureen about that more as we go on. So first question to Maureen. Well, first of all, welcome, Maureen. Hello.
Hello, thank you.
Now, Maureen, how was life? What was life like before you embarked on your spiritual journey?
Well, of course, we're going back a lot of years because I was born 1939. So in those days, of course, there wasn't a lot for anybody to have, and we all sort of mucked in together. I think one of the earliest things I recall was that probably some 85 years ago wasn't normal, was that I really believed in reincarnation. And as a very little girl, I always kept thinking, oh, well, I must do this and I must do that because otherwise it might catch me up. I think my only particular disappointment was I don't know what I was paying for in this life that I'd done in a previous life. I just hoped I enjoyed it. But that's sort of, going way, way back. And all the usual things of being a young child in hard times. And as I say, we were all the same, so we didn't know any difference. I actually went into business as a business advisor, and I tended to particularly assist women going into business. When I opened my own business in 1971, I was only the fourth woman in Hull to actually own a business. So it was a bit of a battle. I did recognize that, women had such a lot to give. And I spent the next 30, 40 years encouraging women to go into business. And I did everything I could to actually help them on that process, which of course could be quite difficult. But I think one of the things I actually used to my advantage, I always found, of course, a woman in business, I was underestimated. I was able to use the fact I was a woman to get into probably interview situations with potential clients because I was a woman. So I wonder what her legs look like. And of course, if I could get into them, my business, I knew exactly what I was going to do, and inevitably, I did come out with some business. And also, very often in organisations, I was the token woman. But again, I never ever took offence because being the token woman, inevitably, I was expected to be the secretary of the group, whatever it might have been. And what nobody really realises, the real power is in the secretary's hands because she writes the minutes, she organises the meetings, she even arranges the seating, all to her advantage. So on numerous occasions, forgive me if I sound rather devious, but on numerous occasions, I was certainly able to use the fact I was a female in business to help me on my way. I was fortunate enough to be able to get a grant from the European funds to be able to set up a network group called Women's Enterprise in the Humber. And that gave me the opportunity to create the first network specifically for women in business in the Humberside area. And at the end of that, I mean, obviously, if there's any funding, there's always plenty of targets to meet. But at the end of that, I was able to prove I had helped over 300 women to go into business. So that, really made my heart sing that I was able to do that. And again, I was all I really did was sort of actually use my own business experience and explain how, like being a secretary in a group, isn't necessarily a bad thing. And don't be aggressive. Men are very protective, and if you're going to challenge them, then inevitably you'll come out at the wrong side. So I did a number of things like that. My business career as a business advisor was magic. It was very hard work. I was a workaholic. But I got to meet the Queen twice, 3 times. I was able, through some of my own business networks, and again, going back those years, there wasn't anything for women to join. So, of course, I had to join all the men's groups, inevitably being the only woman there, but so what? It helped me on my way. And through things like the Confederation of British Industry, I was able to go as a speaker over to Geneva, all over in the UK, promoting women in business. So whilst it was hard work, I'm sure I had plenty of tears in the background. Inevitably, at the end of it, it seemed all very worthwhile. So that sort of brought me up to, in business, on a number of occasions. I did sort of, I could almost say, play with spirituality, in that it would come along and sort of give me a dig. But because I was so naive, of course, I didn't recognize it. And there was no group or anybody I knew that could say to me, well, didn't you realize, that was actually intuition? So, think about it. Why don't you look at your intuition, expand it? It was a case of, oh, wasn't I lucky there? There was one particular instance where, yes, I was very lucky, and I'm quite sure the universe was taking care of me. Anybody in the Hull area will know there is the A63, which is the main road in and out of Hull. Well, I'd been out with a group of friends just after it had actually opened, and we were coming back. I think we'd been to some, I don't know, racing event, and we were coming back, and it was very dark, and it was pouring with rain. And I drove up just behind a lorry, and I was just going to overtake the lorry when all of a sudden some voice said, no, stay, you're more safe here. And I stayed there. If I hadn't, somebody approaching was on the wrong side of the road, and we would have met head on, and there wouldn't have been much left of either car. So I really feel that was very much intuition and the universe protecting us in that car. So that obviously has stayed with me pretty strongly.
Oh gosh, was that your catalyst moment, Maureen, for thinking, I'm spiritual, or what else made you go down more was it all of a sudden you went down the spiritual path? Did it just, like that incident, fall into place?
I think that was one of a number of things. There was a lot of synchronicity as well. I remember I was opening the post one day in my office, and out popped a leaflet, and it was about a retreat over in the Isle of Skyros, which is just off the coast of Greece. And it was all about communications. I thought, well, I wonder why this has come, because I don't know anybody about this, but it looks interesting. A few days later, I was actually interviewed by a guy from the Hull Daily Mail, and one of the questions he asked me was, are you in business because of the power? I thought, what on earth is he talking about? What does it mean, power? As one does, one always reflects later.
Yeah.
And I thought, he does have a point, because at that time I had about 60 employees. I had 3 children's nurseries, fully staffed. So in one way or another, bearing in mind that most things come from the top and go right the way through, I thought, what if I'm not doing these things right? What if maybe there is a bit, maybe I'm not a very good communicator. And I decided to go on this course, and it really did sort of, open my eyes considerably. And it was about communication, but it was communication not just of the word, it was of the mind, the heart, touch, everything you could imagine. And that was a big wake-up call. But unfortunately, not long after that, we had a trauma in our family, which meant for the next 19 years, I actually felt I'd been deserted by whatever it was that I was just becoming comfortable with. And it was many years before I actually again looked at spirituality. And that again sort of linked in with women's enterprise in the Humber, because a new member joined one morning called Rachel Alexander. Well, Rachel was, of course, very much a spiritual person. And I thought after that, why, I shall have to have words with her. I'm really interested. Unfortunately, she left before I could. But a couple of days later, a bit more synchronicity, she rang me to ask if we could meet to discuss some costings that she wanted to do in her business. And yes, we did meet. And the last thing we talked about was costings. I got a £60 fine for being in Marks and Spencer's car park for over 3 years. But that was
over 3 hours, yeah.
after 3 hours.
Sorry, not 3 years, 3 hours.
3 hours.
Lovely. This is what happened. That's just a very big indicator. That's the sort of thing that happens with Rob. This is synchronicity, Maureen. Rob and I was talking about that things don't always happen just, everything's going to be hunky-dory. You usually get something, boom, like that when that happens, don't you? When you're going through it.
But also, one of the things that really identified for me, I'm a bit of a sponge. I like to do everything. I'm involved in everything, anything to do with spirituality. And I went on a course over in Wakefield area, which was run by Karen E. Wells on past life regression. Absolutely fascinating. But to actually become qualified, I had to have 5 case studies. So I came home and I couldn't find 5 anybody's. So I thought, well, that's no use. So one of the things when I was telling Rachel about that, we decided, right, there isn't a group, there isn't anywhere where like-minded people can meet up. And this was 2017. There wasn't anything. So, right, let's create it. And that's where Celestial Explorers came into being. And we opened up on the 10th of February 2017 in a little upstairs room in a restaurant in Willoughby Square. And I had said to my colleagues in Women's Enterprise in the Humber, I'm going to do this. This is now what I want to do. Here you are. Here's your business network. But if any of you are interested and would like to join me, I am doing this thing on the 10th of February. There were 6 guests, including myself and Rachel. And we had a great morning. All sorts of things was talked about and discussed. And we did decide the format at that time would be to invite people whom were recognised in a modality to come and talk to us and tell us about their story. How did they choose the particular modality, what had changed in their life, and then give us a demonstration or explain whatever it was to us. And it went down well. After about 8-9 months, we'd outgrown the little room. So from there, we went to the country park hotel, and we stayed there for a year, and then we grew out of that room, and then we moved on to the village hotel until COVID. And of course, COVID probably was again a very big moment for celestial explorers, because of course we resorted to Zoom.
Yes.
And
As did us all.
Did us all. And all of a sudden, we didn't have any boundaries. We didn't have to just invite people who could travel locally. And we went from strength to strength, I must admit, to my great surprise. And Julie, you know me, and you know technology and me are not exactly the best of friends, but somehow we managed.
Oh, yes.
And even now, these days, we still do our meetings. We have live meetings in Beverley, but we also always Zoom our meetings as well, because we have friends and colleagues now in Australia and Spain, a big contingent in Ireland, as well as all over the UK. And, it certainly has grown in that particular way. So as much as technology frightens me, it's certainly been a big boon to celestial explorers, as you well know.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So it's really taken on its shape and form, hasn't it, up to now with what's happening. But can you see, is it going further in the future, Maureen? Where can you see a future vision?
Well, first and foremost, I have a blank sheet of paper. I think I can comfortably say that if we decided to do something and it was feasible, we will do it. I have to say that certainly the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Sometimes being 85 does sort of twinge a bit. But we've gone from just the small talking events to the big Zoom events. We've done an exhibition for practitioners. We did a big exhibition for practitioners a couple of years ago. We constantly do look to do different things. And of course, this year, the big thing is we're going to Ireland on a retreat. I went to Ireland last August to meet Hilary Hoare, who is my mentor. Excuse me. And it had such an impact on me. I don't know why, but it was just wonderful. My heart just sang, my soul sang. And when I came home, I came home and had a birthday, and my daughter bought me the DNA. And when it came back, not unsurprisingly, 63% of me is English, 14% of me is East European, but 22% of me is Irish. Not only Irish, but from Galway, Roscommon, Silgo, all the areas that I'd actually been staying at. So if ever there was a case of, your ancestors calling you back home, I felt that really was it. And so we thought, well, we'll do a retreat. We'll repeat Celestial Explorers over in Castle Hackett House, which was where myself and my daughter had stayed. And we're taking over the property. We've got speakers lined up for all sorts of things. It's going to be so magic. I don't know how we'll fit it all in because it's only 4 days. But anything, seriously, anything. If somebody came along and said, could we do this? Yes, of course we can. How do we do it? I know that tends to be my modus operandum. Yes, we'll do it, but how? Not to worry.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, like that.
We'll get there.
Yeah. There's always a way.
Inevitably, we do. I'm conscious that there will come a time where I hope somebody will either identify themselves or I'll twist their arms for them to take it over. Although I'm not, I am aware that things like networks can outgrow their time. It's happened to me often in the past, certainly in my business life. You know, I would join one thing and outgrow that and move on to something else. I would hope Celestial Explorers, because it is an ongoing thing, isn't it? It is going to be forever that newbies come along and they need help in finding out what their sole purpose is or where they can make a difference. And so I would hope it would go on. But as I say, I'm not precious about it. I'll just do my best. And so long as I do whatever is my sole purpose, I'll be quite happy. But who knows? Who knows? And as you know, Julie, one of the things that I have been guided towards with your very kind help is I have to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
And the book has to be about my experiences prior my awakening, to be able to show to a certain extent that so long as you've got the backbone, you can do anything, you can achieve anything initially in the business world. And I've just finished that bit. Just finished my corporate bit of the book, and now I'm going to start on truly my path on the spiritual path, and working on that. And you, and indeed Anne Winslow, whom works in past, present and future lives, has already indicated there's another book. Not that there's any pressure on me, but I haven't finished the first one yet. But there is another book, and yes, I can see where another book would fit in, and I shall take up that challenge as well in my spare time.
Oh.
I say in my spare time because at the moment I'm learning how to face whisper. I'm developing my channeling. I join you on a regular basis. I have Celestial Explorers. I've got the retreat. But it keeps me young. I think I can say it keeps me young.
Yeah, so you're certainly not retired, have you, Maureen? There's certainly no room for retirement. It's
Oh no. Oh no, I can't do that.
Oh, thank you so much, Maureen. It sounds like it's such an inspiring story that you have. And this is just a case that you hear where you've just gone with your calling, even before we knew it was spirituality, before we knew we were looking at intuition, before we thought it was a thing. You have been there before, and it's your gift to set things in foundation up to help, as you say, help lots of women. But I know in the group there are men as well. We don't need to, we're not separating that from the spiritual.
No.
If that's, I think it's one of my missions to bring more men into
Yes.
the spiritual realm, not leave them out or anything.
Mine
So
too.
yeah, and Rob too. Of course, Rob's too.
Well, you can join the Zoom group, Rob. You've no excuse.
You might find me there.
Yes, yeah. So Maureen, how can people find you? What's your website? How can people join the Celestial Explorers?
Well, we have a website, but that's just sort of basic information. But we've got quite a busy Facebook page as well. And once anybody sort of links into those, they can usually find contact for me personally. And I'm always here to help. We tend to use the Facebook as more as inspirational sharing of information, that type of thing. We don't do advertising because I feel that if we once did any advertising, then it would just become an advertising page, because there's so many people who would like to be able to spread what they do. And it would just become an advertising page, and I don't want that.
Not the place, yeah.
No. But as I say, we're we're like everybody with the 3 W's, celestialexplorers.co.uk, and Facebook is there constantly. But,
Yeah.
and as I say, you know, if somebody suddenly hears that we've got a meeting, everybody is most welcome, and we take it from there. And I've just got two places left on the retreat. So somebody's keen for that. Come on.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, it does sound fantastic. I've got roots, you know, some of my history is in Ireland. I've never been or anything, but I know I've got some ancestries, you know, we come from Ireland.
I'm a wee bit jealous of you there, Maureen, because I've also done my DNA, and my family is Irish. By all accounts, my parents met and married in Ireland, brother and sister both born in Ireland, long history in Wicklow outside Dublin. What am I? 1% Irish. Miffed is not the word. Because like you, I arrive in Galway and I feel like I've come home.
Yes, it is. It's
everything falls away and I just want to be there. It's the most extraordinary place.
Yes, yes. If I was 30 years younger, I know where I'd be moving to.
Yeah, it's
so
on my mind.
Next time round.
Next time round, absolutely.
Yeah, in my contract, must be somewhere in Ireland.
or you've done it.
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah, you may have done it several times round and your contract's no longer.
Yeah, I must have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Oh, well. I could honestly listen to you talk for hours. You're just fascinating.
It's
and
amazing.
Genuinely inspirational.
Oh,
it's so ahead of your time, pushing that envelope way back when. You're extraordinary. I can't wait for your book.
Thank you. That's most kind.
Not at all.
I mean, I have to say, Robert, that on many occasions, because I came from such a poor background, like everybody, I have often felt very unworthy. Yeah. And that's been quite a long journey for me. And now I can say, here I am. You know, I am what I am. And I love it.
Good for you.
I love it. Yeah.
That's just amazing to hear. You know, I think so many of us deal with self-worth issues.
Yes.
For whatever reasons.
Yes.
And that you've overcome that and found yourself and are able to stand up and wave your own flag is just brilliant.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Really brilliant. What an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Maureen. And don't forget, we will put all your details down below in whatever, you know, in the podcast details and in the YouTube and everywhere else. So you'll be able to get hold of Maureen in any form. So thank you so much, Maureen. It really has. I can't keep saying it enough. Very inspirational. I just want to say to people out there, can you see how Maureen, even in the not worthiness, the I'm not good enough mud, what you do is she's lifted that every time. She's seen the good in the bad every time. You know, all you know, if you go back and listen to this story quite a few times, and I know Maureen could probably share the story a lot longer, which is why we would recommend getting the book if you know, when Maureen has that published. In fact, we'll probably get you back for another interview about the book, Maureen. We'd love to do that. Yeah, so I hope everybody's enjoyed this, and we will see you soon. Bye for now.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen.